Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Paula. If you've not been here before, I do coaching for folks with complex trauma. I hold a little cozy, like super cozy, one-on-one container. But to learn more about that, I'll leave lots of links in my bio. The point of today's video is that I want to talk to you about somatics. I want to make this term, which I think is a super popular one right now, has been for a while. I'm excited that it's popular, but it seems like it's getting like overthought. It's becoming this big mystery of a practice, somatics. Like it's an alternative to traditional therapy in a lot of ways. It feels like the decolonization of the therapy space in a lot of ways, because somatics is all about the body. Somatics is all about movement. And so I just find it's getting to be mystified a little bit. I want to bring it back down to earth. I want to make it sound as easy as it really is in reality. And I want to encourage you that you can do this anytime, anywhere. You don't necessarily need to, go take a big course about it. There's a way that you can understand somatics that starts a lot closer to home, because everyone on this earth has a body. And so with that fact alone, you are already pre-qualified to do somatics. I want to let you know you've been doing it your whole damn life. For a lot of us, we have been encouraged not to practice somatics, and I will talk about that more. But it's really natural. For any of us who maybe feel really frozen in our body states, or like we can't express our emotions easily, a lot of times we have been oppressed, we have been repressed, and so relearning somatics is about remembering that you've already got this stuff in the fibers of your beings. You have an inherent right to practice somatics. So let's get into it. So somatics, if I'm giving you the Googleable definition, it's sensation-based body movement. This is so exciting to me. Like, this is the stuff. Oh, I guarantee you guys. You've been doing this stuff since you were so little. You've been doing somatics since you were precognitive. The moment you got out of the womb, when you were a baby and you cried, you really let your voice box go. If something in you felt bad, you let the world know. This is how primitive or instinctual, whatever word you want to use, somatics really is. It's that kind of stuff. When we feel an emotion, we use our body almost as a canvas to show the world, hey, this is how I feel. So when we're a small child, infant, toddler, even just small kid, we are, a lot of us anyway, unless we've had extenuating circumstances like a really traumatized household environment, very possible, schooling environment too, we are more expressive naturally. We want to include the body in the way that we express ourselves. So if we are denied a cookie, we throw a tantrum. Like, we really show our caregivers, like, I'm not okay. We change the pitch of our voice. We move our arms around. We stamp our feet. We let the world know we're mad. This works when you're a kid. But the thing is, guys, it works when you're an adult too, just in different ways. So as adults, we are powerful beings in the sense that we get to recognize our own emotion and then choose the best way and the best time to let it out. So this is where somatics does change a little bit. But ideally, I would love for every adult to still have space in their lives to let themselves throw a tantrum and to let a loved one throw a tantrum, but to know that the loved one is throwing a tantrum. And it goes for all emotions. So doing somatics isn't all about like letting your rage out, letting your tears out, having the tantrums. That's definitely included. And there's so much stuff in between. So much stuff in between. I think a really big thing that, especially in Western societies, we just don't get to do this enough is celebrate. We don't really celebrate with our bodies. A lot of times our celebrations, they look really stiff because we're probably at a restaurant where there's a lot of rules. We gotta sit down at the table. We can only move so much. There's a really set way that we're allowed to express joy. Anything beyond that, we know when it seems kind of weird. Personally, I would love to see more of the weird. Like, I would love it for it to be someone's birthday, and they choose to express their joy in a way that just makes everyone else say, like, what is that? I would love more of this. Like, I would love someone to be like, I'm 33 years old. Hell yeah! Like, I want more of that. I saw a video earlier today, just like in passing, and the man bought a house for himself. He's a millennial. He's my age, and he bought a damn house. That is no small feat. And he walked in the house, and in the lobby, he said, oh my god, I almost feel like dancing. And he didn't dance. And while I was watching the video, I was just like, dance! Oh my god, let yourself dance! Do it! Stepping into our joy, like a lot of times we'll vocalize, ooh, when we're feeling the thing and it's like right on the doorstep that the body just wants to join. But then we say, no. And it comes from so damn deep down that we just shut off the gateway. We step back out of the doorway of opportunity in all of these little moments. So we're definitely down on our joy. I think our expressions of joy could be so much bigger. And this is the thing, a lot of us already know when we want to do it. So it's not about forcing it. Somatics is never about force. But it is noticing, hey, if I could be really anything I wanted to be with my body when I'm feeling a certain thing, what would it look like? I think the most intuitive way to think about somatics, given that little definition of it being about sensation-based body movement, think back to when you were in school and you were young, and when you felt uneasy because maybe you were bored, or maybe you were frustrated with the task at hand, anything at all, you would instinctively just get out of your chair and you would start moving around. These are incredible impulses. These are impulses that I want more adults to listen to. I remember when I was in school, all throughout university, all throughout my master's program, I wanted to move all the time. And I would literally sit there thinking to myself, man, this would be a perfect environment. Because I was someone who enjoyed just sitting and learning forever. If we could just move around. Some of the lectures are 3 hours and you would get a bathroom break and a 15-minuter. In which case you might see somebody stretching at most. But there are so many other ways that the body intuitively wants to learn. Think of the ways that we are, for lack of a better word, I'll use the word colonizing. We've colonized the learning space. And this translates into the workspace too. I'm just fixing my fairy lights. Learning looks one way. Person at the front, audience, paying attention, most of the info coming in through the eyeballs, the ears, and the body, just this kind of lifeless form that got us from our house to the lecture hall. That's wild. There's so much more happening. And that base impulse to get up and to move around and to process information while you're in motion is amazing. Luckily, the professor kind of gets to do that. They get to walk and talk, but the students just sit back and listen. Ooh. There's so many ways to stay more engaged through the body, and actually a lot of us will learn better not necessarily looking at the person talking or taking breaks from it. There's different ways. I've even heard this described from Luis Mojica. He does really great work with trauma in the body. And he says, he learns with his whole body, not just the eyes and the face. But sometimes even for him, having his back to the person speaking is a really deep sign of trust. Just letting the whole body like explore the room that it's in, the environment that the learning is happening in. So let me talk a little bit about how I use somatics in client space. I host my clients right in here in my little office. Say hello to my little office. So if you coach with me, this is the space I'm in. In the future, I would love to have it out like in a forest. Maybe that'll happen. But for now, there's lots we can do even just in a room. But I'm not always sitting in session. If I'm sitting in session, it's because I want to be sitting in session. But I have lots of space to walk around. I have a bed because I want to have a soft, big pad in order to either model anger or model anything at all, really, any kind of bigness, and I need a soft thing. So I use these props. And when I'm feeling like, if someone is talking a lot, because a lot of us, the clients that I work with, as I said before, they come in with a lot of trauma stories sometimes. And the thing is, to take that in when I'm just sitting, it's a lot of emotional processing with no way to let the process continue and finish its cycle and come out of me. So a lot of times I will be moving around as they're speaking. I always let you know this, so you don't just think I'm ignoring you. I want to fill people in. And I encourage clients to do the same, to really slow down when they're telling those stories from the past, to feel if tension is rising, maybe in their chest, in the stomach is a really big one, and move. Don't finish your story for the sake of having me understand it, because what's more important, what is bigger, what's more present, is how you feel when you're telling the story and how you tend to the emotions that come up as you tell the story. That's where therapy happens in my books. This is where relationship happens. This is where the magic happens. So you know what? If you start out by telling a story and then within 10-15 minutes it turns into a session of just us going like this, for a few minutes, if it turns into you like crouching down and going, woo, fuck them, anything like this, this is really getting into the emotionality that lives under the storytelling. This is getting into the body's story. This is leaning into that part of you that might have been repressed for so many years because you didn't know anyone who could really make you feel safe showing this part of you. This is super healing stuff in my experience. So this is somatics. Yes, it can look very, and I know on Instagram, and I'm totally guilty of adding to this too, it looks very like sexy, and it's just like people kind of touching their bodies in intimate ways, and it's almost just like a dance all the time. It doesn't have to be that, and if it is that for you, I am not going to stop you, because somatics does lean into pleasure as well. And so a lot of times that slow movement, I find myself using stuff like this both for when I am in my joy and my pleasure, and also for when I'm in my sadness. My sadness tends to look the same way. It's quite fascinating. You might find the same thing for you. You might not. But the point is we get to learn how we like to move. And you get to learn that your body is this whole other wonderful mechanism, this biological wonder that just wants to help you process things too. By letting it have its story, we tend to feel far more congruent with ourselves. It's not brain leading and body way behind us. Because I think that's a really common state that people come into my space with. And I definitely used to approach a lot of my healing the same way. I would tell people I've got a list of problems. My brain can see all of these problems and I'm a big problem. I act badly. I behave in ways that are self-sabotaging. I would come in with this kind of framing. And I realized that was just my idealized self, my cognitive self, having so much more room to express. Meanwhile, my body was just silenced. They couldn't hear each other. Two parts of many parts that I believe we all have. I think we all have lots of parts in us. But for the sake of right now, I'll describe it as kind of these two seemingly like polarized parts, like the body, which learns through experience and is a slower learner because it is reliant on repeated experiences before we experience a change in behavior. And then the cognitive brain, which moves quite quickly and processes information and is just so damn smart, it's just so damn willing. And when these two are really out of sync, we will feel like our body is a burden. Like our behavior is just annoying and it just doesn't change. I'm like, what the hell? And that's a brain that just feels like it's got no backup support and a body that just feels like nobody looks at it. So slowing down is the first step. Slowing down in how we speak. Leaning into all the stories that tend to show up as soon as we are encouraged to slow down as we speak. This stuff is pure magic. So somatics can be done by anyone. You do not have to be able-bodied. Literally, I assume if you are capable of watching a YouTube video, you can access oxygen in some way. You are on planet Earth with me. You don't even need to have to be able to physically move in order to do somatics. Because the visual mind can also be a really great bridge between a body that's very repressed, and I've definitely had clients like this where like movement just felt so unsafe, especially moving creatively, just felt so unsafe. So rest assured, even if you feel like, you know, dancing like this is not up your alley and not accessible, it doesn't have to be. The very first book I ever read about somatics was Peter Levine's Waking the Tiger. And he described a woman who could move her finger. And that is exactly where they started. If you can blink your eyes, we can start right there. If you can take any type of breath, shallow or deep, we can start right there. The point is that it's your body. It's your story. Somatics is sensation-based. It is not about performing for an audience. So this is not about dancing to look good, it's because it's dancing to feel good for you. This is why I love it so much, because it's such everyone's individual stamp on it is just, and I do find in the beginning, people's expression of their somatic body, their feelings through the somatic lens, it might look like other people's. But then over the years, it turns totally into you. So there's no shame in how it starts to come out. We're social creatures. We learn by mirroring. It's totally okay. Let yourself change. Let yourself flow. That's the point. But I hope that this has made somatics more tangible. Something you have done innately since you were born on this earth. Not something you necessarily have to go learn about because it's this big like mystery. Although obviously no shame in gathering outside information and learning from the experts. That stuff is cherry on an already beautifully iced cake, okay? But the grassroots of this stuff is that you already know this. It's more of the art of letting yourself get there again. Helping yourself feel safe again in the context of your current life. So if you have questions about somatics, if you have any comments you want to leave, if you have questions about how I work as well, please feel free to get in touch with me. I do have a website where you can message me. I do have an Instagram page. Feel free to DM me on there. And I'll leave the link to my program, which is a 12-week one-on-one program. I should say 12 sessions. Some folks will see me weekly. Some folks will see me bi-weekly. I actually enjoy the bi-weekly, which means I work with you for 6 months, which is a fantastic amount of time, and a lot of people, I will see them for longer than that, and that just gets even juicier. I do think that one-on-one containers should be long-term. That's where the magic happens. I don't think this stuff should ever be packaged as like a super quick fix. Just my 2 cents, but anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you again in a later video. Take care of yourselves. Remember to move.